The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Welcome to it, Thursdays here. It's Hail Varsity, Chris Schmidt and Justice Rhody, and you will get our starting five shout-outs in the stream. Hail Varsity YouTube, where you can like and subscribe. Hail Varsity Radio Twitter, at HVarsity Radio, at Justice Rhody, where you find him, at Schmidt_radio for me. 489-1240, 489-1240 to get in. 800-825-5865. How many of you are headed down to PBA tonight? Should be a good one. Maryland, Nebraska, number 25 Terps. Can Nebraska get over the finish line? Round 2 against Maryland. We'll dive into the NFL Combine invites for Big Red football. Brandon Vogel going to be with us. Great story and column from Vogues on Counter Read when it comes to the Eckler effect. We'll dive into that full tilt with him in about 15 minutes. In hour 2, some college football thoughts from Gary Barnett. Barney will be with us around 5:05. Andy Marowski will check in, the pride of Ord, our Husker Hoops insider. And then Danny Burke, Burke's Best Bets, Burke'sBeat.com. Is Danny going to be with us? So we have some tough questions to ask today. We have seen the news about Memorial Stadium concessions, and I want feedback via the stream. I want feedback on the phone lines or the email, whatever is convenient, chris@hailvarsity.com. But this is the tough ask. One's got to go. And you've seen this posted on social media, right? And it's a fun summer topic, with the list of all-time great Nebraska quarterbacks, all-time great Nebraska running backs. Put your starting five together. You got $5 to spend. Put together your all-time NBA starting lineup, that type of exercise. But when it comes to food and football, or food and basketball, quite frankly, staples have been your Fairbury brand hot dog, your Val's slice of pizza, or that glorious Runza when it's about 31 degrees and Oklahoma's in town. The Runza served two purposes, one for each pocket, kept your hands warm and your tummy full. I got to ask you, and want your feedback, one's got to go, and I pray that none of them go, but one's got to go. What is it? What gets voted off the island? What are you having to smuggle in? And again, I don't want any of these to go, but one's got to go. Let's play this game when it comes to your Nebraska football, basketball, Nebraska athletic endeavor, food connoisseur experience. Is it the hot dog? Is it the pizza? Is it the Runza? Ponder that for a little bit. We got to shout out Justice's boys. Because Justice is, well, quite frankly, you can't see it on camera. He is chained to the back wall, and podcast gets posted, and then magically the chains unlock, and Justice is going to hightail it down to PBA because, well, let's be honest, BTN is not the same without the crowd shot of Justice at 6'7" and giant red hair in the front row, intimidating. Your friends are saving you a seat for the front row. Is it the lucky seat? Is it the fact that you are part of that sixth man influence with the student section at PBA? Did you bribe your buddies? Because I was the guy that got there early for my two other buddies, Diamond Dave and Nitro. Just stupid nicknames from the mid-'90s, but that's what we called them. And I got us great student section spots for Nebraska, Kansas during the Rafe LaFrenz era. that KU team that should have gone undefeated and won the national title if it weren't for Arizona. So I got there, and it turned ugly quickly. So the hard work and the extra effort did not pay off. But what a night it could have been. What a day it could have been. I think it was a Sunday tip way back when, one of my sophomore years. But shout out your buddies here real quick before we get into some heavy lifting. And you're going to have the traditional, typical Justice front row student section spot. You're kind of, I don't know. Well, just explain it. Explain where your spot is if folks didn't have a chance to see you on national TV.
Yeah, so I got to shout out my buddies because they get to the games early. We usually do it as a group. We all just kind of go there.
That's awesome.
We huddle up, and then for about, however long we get there, depends on the game. Maybe we get there, 45 to an hour early. I think for Ohio State, we got there about an hour early, just before gates open, just so we can get a nice spot, save it for our guys. We sit there the entire time, and we quiz each other on, life and what college players went to. So we like to do that. Talk a lot of ball. So, shout out to those guys because they're saving me a spot, after I get out of here and hopefully safely get over there as quickly as possible. Do we
need to arrange a police escort from the officer that almost launched you to last game with the Ohio State contest?
Yeah, that same officer.
We can text him. I mean, I still got his number from the Salt Dog days.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. If you wadded me up and threw me as a ball across the plate, he's probably taking me 450 to left. He's probably putting me deep into the seat.
He did that a lot.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the first ball he did that too. But our typical spot, we like to stay not right behind the bench, but we kind of like to stay right behind the scorer's table. Kind of where JP is, where he's doing the PA, and then we're a couple seats over from that, just
over the left shoulder,
just within earshot of the opposing coach, just so he can know that
let him know you're there.
Maybe Nico Harrison gave him his job. You never know what kind of things fly out of the mouth. But shout out to them because they are doing the Lord's work in what is a pretty frigid atmosphere.
So Justice will be arriving about the same time many folks make that mad dash and sprint from the rail yard across the street to get it's a late arriving crowd, but your game time is on time right before the anthem, right before they exit the tunnel.
And they're lively.
Yeah, and you're good. So good. Justice will be able to be seen on BTN in the front row again tonight. That is what I needed to hear. Far be it from me to take one for the team and upload the podcast myself and let you out early. Let's get our starting five shout outs going. Jeff Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty, is in, screaming, protect the vault. Arlo is here. Arlo, good to have you. NASCAR Eric, thank you. And it says time to get one back from the Turtles. Uncle Jimmy is here. I am already missing football. Uncle Jimmy, I hear you. Tuck is here. I'm here, but I'm headed to the flower shop so I can get 2 weeks out of the doghouse. Nice.
The old Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
AKA the secret to buying good grace.
Well, she wants to go to dinner tomorrow night. I'm like, well, now you tell me. So I'm working feverishly on reservations for tomorrow night for the bunny. Uncle Larry is here. Good to have you. Steve is here. Steve, good to have you checking in. The other Dave says, what's up? Anonymous is here. Nobody has mentioned anything like a 7-0 start in 2025. Maybe we have learned.
One can hope. One can certainly hope.
From football. Captain's here. Captain makes his declaration. Nebraska football will make the college football playoff in 2025. Justin's in. Adam says pizza's got to go. But if I'm having to pick, he is going to punt the Runza over the pizza. Casper says, lose the hot dogs. You can do that in the parking lot, please. Pizza
and Runzas, I think.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I don't know if you want the runs in the
Right,
parking
yes,
lot.
I don't.
That's a bad
I think
idea.
that's a bad call,
Bad
Casper,
combination.
having the runs in the parking lot, Big Cat. But listen, I like all of them, but I grew up with all of them, and I am. There's a incredible quote from Humphrey Bogart, and it says, "A dog at the ballpark is better than steak at the Ritz." And I tell you what, walking in, my childhood was the smell of popcorn walking into the Bob Devaney Sports Center. It just wafted up, and it was incredible. But again, I am making sure all three return. Fairbury, Vowels, Runza. But we're just playing the game. One's got to go. We have a vote for pizza. We have a vote for Runza. And Josh says he is voting the no on the pizza. Danny Burke is and I have dubbed him this, but a self-proclaimed hot dog aficionado. Some would say snob, because he is from the Windy City.
Well, he gets Portillo's twice a week, so he's a little spoiled.
But he's like, brother, what are you doing with the hot dogs? I'm like, the hot dogs are incredible. I am keeping Fairbury brand hot dogs at all costs. That's my top draft pick. I will have 3 tonight because they're incredible, and they just taste better at the sporting event. I totally believe
you got a point there. They get that sporting event boost. It's like a +2 flavor boost to your taste buds.
It's incredible. Okay, so we'll talk a little NFL Combine here. With official invites are out. Thomas Fedoni, keep your draft pick. Let us title this or kind of frame this differently. Instead of what's got to go, what are you keeping? All right, let's reverse it a minute here. You got the hot dog, the pizza, the Runza. What are you drafting first? What are you keeping safe? What's your protected player in a expansion draft? So Fedoni, Ty Robinson, Nayor, Tommy Hill. Those are the guys. I was hoping Nash would get the invite to the Combine. I was hoping Banks would get the invite to the Combine. But nothing from Nebraska's offensive line either. No Scott.
Surprised to not see Ben Scott there.
Yeah, and it's whatever. These guys will be able to perform at Nebraska's Pro Day and see what kind of interest they can generate. Obviously, it's Ty Robinson. There's been some talk here with Robinson maybe sneaking into the late first round, second round, third round guy, possibly, likely, kind of that fringe third, fourth round. But the Combine can really make you, quite honestly. It can also break you. We'll talk with Jay Moore next week because his one of his all-time stories is, I think he was not roommates, but next door to Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, at the Combine. So listen, Ty's going to be fine. What about the other 3? What happens with Fedoni, with Nayor, with Tommy Hill? I think the injury situation is going to be something that Tommy's got to overcome at the Combine when it's time to sit down with teams. I think they flip on the Colorado game, and that is a saving grace. Fedoni, the guy has just busted it. I wish him absolutely well. I wish him as high as he can go in this tight end draft, because he's a guy who's put in the work and been really loyal. Nayor's what I'm questioning here. And he has all the tools. He has the skill set. He's a guy that did produce at Wyoming, got dinged at Texas, had really good early moments in this season at Nebraska, and then kind of disappeared. I mean, NFL folks are going to flip on the film and say, dude, what's going on with your blocking? It got better once Dana got here, but Nayer's also one of those guys athletically that is such a freak athletically with his size and speed combination. I mean, he wants to go full bore with it. He can make a team. He can absolutely make a team. Now you've got you'll just have to sell yourself. It just takes one, right?
Mhm.
It just takes one. We have not hit any basketball, and that's brutal. Nebraska favored by 1.5. We will go full bore into Nebraska and Maryland tonight. There's a big ask that continues on with Nebraska basketball, and specifically with Jawan and Bryce Williams. And they have been dynamite during this 4-game win streak. They are going to need to be dynamite again. And I look for a couple of things to change. One, they are going to be better than they were against Maryland this second time around. But I wonder how much better Queen and Reese are going to be this second time around, Justice, with their kind of revenge game against, really, quite frankly, a little bit of a depleted Nebraska front line without Burke.
Yeah, it's a depleted front line like you talked about. It's going to be a lot of Morgan and Mia probably at that forward spot. They might try to go undersized and see if they can mix up Cale Jacobson a little bit. But the thing is you're looking at, can Nebraska get rim pressure early? And that's another thing that is something to monitor as the game goes on. Can Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary get their looks? And, does Derek Queen continue to run a form? He had a career high just a game ago, dropping 29.
Yeah, well, and Nebraska was not good at the rim against Maryland. We'll tackle more of Husker hoops. Brandon Vogel checking in here with Counter Read on the way.
If the problem is just a battery, we can replace it while you wait. If there are additional problems, we can give you a repair estimate on the spot. And all work is done right in our store, so you never have to worry about losing your trusted timepiece. From Grandpa's old pocket watch to today's modern movements, we do it all. I'm Dave Wolf. We've been repairing watches since 1970. The Time Shop, next to McDonald's, 6450 O Street, Lincoln.
Hi, this is Jason Ball, president of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. Since 2013, the First Job Lincoln program has offered high school juniors and seniors direct access to career options and internships, preparing them to enter the workforce for the first time. Unlike other typical summer jobs for teens, First Job Lincoln gives students an opportunity to explore a variety of careers that they would usually not be able to access as a high school student. And First Job Lincoln provides employers an opportunity to seek out qualified candidates for future open positions. First Job Lincoln gives students an avenue to explore real career choices, helping them see themselves in Lincoln in an exciting and rewarding career. For more information on First Job Lincoln, students and businesses can visit lincolnhr.org and search for First Job Lincoln, or go to selectlincoln.org and find First Job Lincoln under the Connect with Talent menu. Thanks, and have a great week.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
When you choose new flooring, you don't want to wait for weeks or months to enjoy it. You want it installed right away. Hi, Steve Carper from O Street Carpet. We hear stories every day about long waits and installation charges way higher than necessary. When you choose O Street Carpet, we'll measure free, install right away, and at a much better price. Stop in, shop now. Proud to be Lincoln's choice for nearly 50 years.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street and ostreetcarpet.com.
Are you just as confused as I am about low T remedies? There's so much nonsense. Order here, call here, text this number. How would you know who is best? The experts at Limitless Mail are the best. It's what they do. It's all they do. They would never throw a bottle of pills at you and say, try this. Limitless Mail.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back to you. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhody, Brandon Vogel is here. You can watch this on the stream And find Brandon on Twitter at Brandon L. Vogel. Read him. Subscribe, counter read. Counterread.com. Vogue's football, food, and basketball is kind of what we tried to tackle here. We'll get your thoughts on the Terps and Big Red. Loved your story on the Eckler effect. Instead of what goes, we are going to flip it around and what stays when it comes to concessions for Nebraska football. Are you going Fairbury? Are you going Vows? Are you going Runza? What stays? Uncle Andy has chimed in. He wants not only Amigos Tacos back, but he wants the 14th and downtown Amigos that was open till 2 or 3 a.m. across from his fraternity house open. I like where Uncle Andy's head is at. What are you drafting?
Runza for me. So I think that's I think about this not necessarily from the Nebraskans' perspective, but as somebody who maybe is visiting Memorial Stadium for the first time, like what kind of cements your experience as the most Nebraskan way to experience a football game. And for me, that's probably Runza, though. It'd be tough to lose any of them, to be honest. A couple of years back, I wrote a story about the stadium food and how Nebraska sort of stood out in a way that may not necessarily have thought. Like a lot of these stadiums have become kind of like minor league ballparks where they have, these Franken foods that are meant to be shared on social media. And I kind of appreciated that Nebraska, you could get Val's, you could get a Fairbury hot dog, you could get a Runza. And, that's pretty much what it's like to be in Nebraska. So there's a reason people feel attached to those items in particular.
Well, and you take Junior when he was little to the football games, you were getting him all three each quarter because he was a bottomless pit. So you touched on cementing your experience at Memorial Stadium. Vogues, you go back the last 7, 8, 10 years. What did a native Nebraska fan walk away with, or somebody who just got to the stadium for the first time walk away with when it came to special teams? What was that first impression of Nebraska special teams post 2014?
In most instances, probably, well, that could have been better. And then, beyond that, depends on the context. If you're talking in 2021, for example, I was just looking back at some like overall power rankings from that year. Nebraska finished ahead of Oregon that year and was 3-9. It was like 2 spots ahead of Oregon, but Oregon was like 9-3 or something like that. And you look at where Oregon's at now and where Nebraska's still at now. And, that year in particular stands out as one where you just had better special teams, like maybe a couple of those games flip. Well, that's kind of been the undercurrent for most of that stretch. Nebraska's had some good years. If you go back 10, 11, a lot of it comes down to how good are your specialists, I think, too. And that's part when you look at like what Eckler can bring to Nebraska, that is a little bit, that might take a little bit of time. The bigger part of it is just, I think, energy and effort and execution. And that's part where you feel like Eckler kind of brings those qualities in spades.
You look at where Tennessee not only ranked, but how they performed, Vogues, in big games, kind of that company you keep, and to be in that upper echelon, let alone an 11-win team and also a playoff team during the Eckler era. I mean, it produced. It was difference-making in some big games.
Yeah, it absolutely was. That story you mentioned, that newsletter I sent this morning, I was interested in like, what was that 4-year chunk like for Eckler's all 4 seasons at Tennessee? How good was that taken as a whole compared to everybody else? It was the 14th best nationally, which, I don't know, maybe people thought that would be higher or lower. Some years it was. But, that put them in company with Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa. Ole Miss was there. Illinois was there. Nebraska was 124th, which put them next to UMass, Rice, Purdue, There was another Big Ten in the team in Northwestern. Northwestern was worst in the country over the past 4 years. Not the company that you want to keep. So, and part of the thing that sticks out to me about special teams and like offense or defense is it's comparatively smaller sample size, which means there's a smaller gap between the best in the country and the worst in the country than there is with offense or defense. But that's a good thing for Nebraska in this case, because I think the opportunity for rapid improvement in just 1 year is better for that reason.
Yeah, Vogues, I know you touched on a little bit in your newsletter when you talked about kick efficiency, punt efficiency, and some of the coverage areas. What does that ultimately come down to for Mike Eckler? Is that just getting guys engaged when it comes to the coverage aspect of, hey, you got to get down the field with some pace, with some intensity? And when you come to like the kicking and the punting efficiency, does that also come down to coverage a little bit, how you're protecting the kicker and stuff? Or is that ultimately guys just got to step up and make a play?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it comes down to getting guys engaged. And it's going to be interesting too with, the presumed forthcoming roster limit. Used to be a great spot for walk-ons, like your hungriest players to find a role. And we've seen good players on Nebraska's defense the past couple of years who were like special teams standouts first and foremost. It was a good way to find out who could play. Well, now you're going to be selecting from essentially all scholarship guys. So it's going to be a little bit of a different trick for special teams coaches, but that's going to be true across the country. So I think that part of it is going to be really vital. But then, as you said, I really like the word you used, engaging them, like building some pride in that unit. And we all know the type of energy and enthusiasm that Eckler brings. Haven't seen it in Nebraska before, so I think that should help him there. When I first kind of wrote out like a list of candidates for Nebraska, just back of an envelope stuff, Eckler was in there because everybody was talking about him right out of the way. I think he was about top of the scale for what Nebraska could have gotten in a special teams coach.
Are you surprised Nebraska landed him?
A little bit. Which might have just been my own faulty thinking. It seemed like a little bit too easy of connect the dots, which is what we always do. When it comes time to like, well, let's talk about candidates. Like, well, this guy's familiar. This guy, he didn't have any connection to this current coaching staff, though. So that was, I thought he was a guy you give him a call for sure, based on his track record and based on his familiarity, and see what happens. I didn't know if it would progress much from there. So yeah, I was a bit surprised when that was the pick.
Do you gift Will Compton a suite at Memorial Stadium for having the right kind of influence on this?
Probably. I mean, it might have made sense anyway, given his
all the sense in the world to hire him. Yes,
given his profile. If Nebraska starts getting good again, he's going to be one of Nebraska's biggest allies. Not that he hasn't been already, but with somebody with as big a platform as he has, if he has something to crow about, it would be good things for Nebraska.
Ty Robinson headed to the NFL Combine. You have Nayor that's going. You have Tommy Hill that's finding his way, and then Fedoni. Where do you think Ty can thrive? And the guy got after the quarterback. He's gotten better every year. He's so big, and I think he moves super well for his size, and he's really good against the run. He's a 3-down lineman in the NFL at the next level. But can he slide into day one with a good showing at Indy?
Day one might be still a stretch, I think. But I tell you what, his film from this season will be quite good, because he is moving Big Ten offensive linemen, which, along with the SEC, is as good as you're going to face. The most probably immediate future pros and future pros that you can see on a college schedule. And the other thing you mentioned, like, it's been a pretty steady progression for him as a player, which I also think is encouraging. So I would still be surprised to see him crack that day one, but who knows? I guess we'll see what he puts up at the Combine.
Yeah, Vokes, when you look at like an NFL team that could take Ty Robinson, I know this is a guy, his bread and butter is that bull rush. If he can get to a power move, he can knock you flat on your tuchus. What kind of NFL team would you want to see him take? I know for me as a Packers fan, I'd love to see him get in that system, develop a swim move, develop a rip and pull, develop something else besides the bull rush moves to make up for the lack of lateral quickness that he sometimes shows with his hands and the way that his feet chop at the line of scrimmage. What's a good NFL place for him to get in, get down, and get some reps early on a team that, maybe could potentially give him a second contract if he shows out?
Yeah, I mean, Packers would be near the top of the list. A little bit of recency bias, but just having watched what the Eagles did and kind of realizing after the fact that it was kind of there all year. I'm not the closest follower of the NFL, but looking at some of the numbers after the fact to be like, wow, how did this happen? There were some signs there, and with the coaching you would receive there. Sure, everybody would want to be drafted by the defending Super Bowl champs, but when you're talking about it specifically from a player development standpoint, San Francisco, I'd also probably put in there. Any of those places would feel like a good fit, but at this point, for a guy of his accomplishments, like I think he's submitted himself that he's going to get a shot, and it's going to be a pretty good shot based on the progress he made as a Husker. So now you can talk a little bit about like, well, what would be best and what's realistic and what's best to hope for.
Bogues, of the rest here, about 90 seconds. I need a couple of minutes of overtime from you on the other side to hit hoops. But of the other three Huskers invited to Indy, who is the best prospect remaining between Fidone, Nayor, and Hill?
Yeah, I mean, Nayor's got impressive measurables, which is going to help you at the combine in terms of production. One of those seasons lost to injury over his last three seasons. Hasn't been quite what I think, would make him a surefire immediate take. So those numbers are going to have to be really good for him. I think the biggest wild card probably, and Tommy Hill injured himself again in postseason prep, which is unfortunate to see. Hopefully he can come back from that. Fidone kind of feels like the guy with the biggest upside of that group. A little bit, the potential's always been there. Obviously, 2 injuries, but I think a guy who has always worked his tail off, and it could be viewed as a little bit of a gem if he shows well.
Bogues, hang on. We'll hit some hoops here on the way, okay?
Yep.
More with Brandon Vogel coming up.
Newsroom, I'm Cole Miller. Coming up, the topic of abortion has returned to the state capitol. The discussion now centering around abortion pills. Plus, that homicide in Seward has so many asking why the man accused in the killing was out on bond. A retired judge talks about the process. And 4 Huskers have been invited to the NFL Combine. We'll tell you who has a shot at playing on Sundays. These stories and more tonight.
Hey, it's Schmitty here for Lincoln Weight Loss. Now's the time to commit to a healthier you and be ready for spring and summer. Regain the energy you remember from years ago and enjoy every aspect of your life more. For those of us just a bit past our prime, metabolism gets out of balance, causing weight gain, fatigue, heart issues, and other illnesses. At Lincoln Weight Loss, they can help you take control of your metabolism and end the cycle of weight gain and frustration.
Metabolic syndrome is far more common than most people realize. It affects your ability to lose weight, and diet alone isn't enough. The Lincoln weight loss approach targets the root cause of weight gain, your metabolism. This proven system will help reset your metabolism so you can lose up to 1 pound of fat per day and keep it off with no exercising, pre-packed foods, or counting calories.
The Lincoln Weight Loss Program helped me lose 30 pounds quickly by resetting my metabolism so I can keep the weight off for good. Schedule your free consultation today at LincolnWeightLoss.com or call 402-520-8170.
It's called the 340B Hospital Markup Program. Hospitals mark up discounted drugs and pocket the difference. charging patients $5,000 for cancer drugs they bought for $500, and suing patients that can't pay. It's how big tax-exempt hospitals abuse the 340B program. If patients aren't benefiting, where's the money going? Learn more at 340bmarkup.org. Paid for by Pharma.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery. Ends President's Day. Exclusively the Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Hey, it's Bill Hooks and Elijah Herbal from the Morning Hookup. Coming up on a Fullback Friday, we'll welcome back the
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Some overtime with Brandon Vogel, counterread.com, where you find him, Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhody. Husker Hoops tonight, 7:30 PBA, number 25, Maryland. Terps have been really good in they're physical, they're dominant at the rim. Nebraska's resurged quite a bit. Folks, how you feeling tonight? Again, that tight line, -1.5.
Yeah, it's a big one, particularly at home. And given that, the line would make this mostly a toss-up, I think some of that, the line at least reflects a little bit of the streak that Nebraska is on. Because when you look at it from a numbers perspective, some of the numbers that I look at, like it feels like Maryland has a decent-ish advantage, like, maybe 3 or 4 points the other way. Just a little bit better than Nebraska in most spots, but you can't really rule out the Huskers at home against any opponent remaining on the schedule. So this feels like the Ohio State game did on Sunday, which was kind of a true toss-up, and I think if they lose, it's not that damaging to like the overall goal of postseason hopes, but the upside is high because it's a game that should be pretty much up for grabs given the setting.
It's one of those games. Look where you're at right now. It's a moment in the season where you can climb all the way back to be 500 in conference play. You can notch another ranked win. You can notch another Q1 win. You can also do some work with this streak. And Fred's done it in February, specifically the last 2 Februaries. Nebraska's turned in and gotten better as the year goes on. How big a loss? And I'll be honest with you. 3 weeks ago, I was wondering about the old ROI from what they invested on Burke. And it was just one game. It was a hell of an efficient game. He just had and helped perform. 3 of 6, 15 points. It was big time. He was big time in the Northwest, Rhody. And he was rounding into what you needed from him role-wise. So it's pretty massive for me because you're on the road for the next 2 in 2 places where you need to win. You should win, but you don't win.
Yeah, this opening stretch is interesting because, like I said, we got the toss up there, and then the next 2 games are like the 2 remaining where Nebraska would be a decent-ish favorite. They both happen to be on the road, and this is still a program that when it comes to you've got the edge, just exploit the edge, is almost more of a more nervous prospect for me than a game like tonight's is. One of the things that gives me a little bit of pause with the streak that Nebraska is on, which is obviously a good thing, is put them back in NCAA tournament talk. Teams shot so well from the three-point line when Nebraska had its losing streak, but that's not really the marker of good 3-point defense. What is limiting 3-point attempts. Nebraska ranks 361st in the country. They allow almost 30 a game. Maryland is a little bit above average at about 22 or 23. So that'll be one of the things that's telling to me tonight is how many threes is Maryland willing to take, how many they're able to take, because that's what it is. Ultimately, teams are going to shoot well, they're not going to shoot well. That's pretty variable. What you can control is trying to keep teams off of those high value shots, and it's been something where Nebraska's not where it wants to be overall on the season.
Vogues, bit of a funky question here. Me and my buddy were talking about this. Maryland leads the country with post-ups per 100 possessions. They get almost 30. Astronomical number there. If you had to put the over-under on how many times we see Maryland go into the post and get a post touch tonight, what would you put it at if I say 25 and a half?
Nebraska's pretty strong defensively. I'd probably still go over based on the number you share, because if we're starting 5 under the average, it's just they're so physical. It's tough to keep them off the block, and if you run into some early foul trouble just based on how loose or tight the game's being called, it's probably going to be tough to keep them off of that. So I'd take the over on that. That's a good number.
Do you think that plays right into what Nebraska wants to do with that baseline trap?
Possibly. I mean, I would expect that would be what Nebraska will try. And, going back to the 3-point thing and trying to keep them for a team that doesn't take as many as Nebraska allows, maybe that allows them to be a little bit more aggressive defending that way, because, hey, Maryland's accustomed to their 3 and rim rate is in the 200 somewhere. So, they're a team that kind of plays a little bit more of an old school style based on the bodies and the strength that they have.
Bogues, we'll get you out on this and tell us about Counter Reed. Nebraska's record when they come back Tuesday. Husker baseball is what? How do you think they do this weekend? Great opportunity. A lot of excitement for Nebraska baseball, deservedly so. And they get to go down to the Southwest with a really talented array of arms, returning offense for sure, and a lot of really good underclassmen that have performed their job this offseason. So Nebraska comes back how?
My gut says early season baseball can be highly variable, so 2-2, but it's the start of the season. It's time for optimism. So let's go 3-1. You got Vandy in.
Okay.
You got Vandy in there, of course, but you're playing teams from that area of the country. You always can be assured of a pretty high level of talent, whether they're ranked, close to ranked, or not. So, but the Huskers are starting ranked. Like you said, they've got the talent up and down the lineup. So let's set our sights high to start.
All right. How do I sign up for Counter Read? What do I get?
Yeah, just head to counterread.com and that'll point you where you need to go. That gets you 2 exclusive newsletters a week for our paid subscribers, and you can sign up as a free subscriber and get a free week trial to check out all of the things that we've done. We also do a couple of other free things a week to kind of let people know what we're about. Newsletter you mentioned earlier, me kind of looking at the Mike Eckler effect and what's realistic for Nebraska. It's one of our paid subscriber pieces, but you can go sign up, get a free account, and check that out if you're interested.
Amazing work, Brandon Vogel, Aaron Sorensen. Vogues will holler Saturday.
Sounds good.
There
Thanks.
he is. Brandon Vogel with us, counterread.com, at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. It's where you follow Vogues, Dream Like a Champion, his book with Mr. John Cook. So get that reading. Maybe that's the Valentine's gift you pull the trigger on, is you get the John Cook biography.
There you
Just
go.
saying. We will get to Justice's breakdown next segment here. What needs to happen for Nebraska basketball here around 4:53. Justice will beeline to be on BTN front and center with a crowd shot, of course.
Yeah, just for Kevin Kugler and Sean Morris to say, what is that ginger guy doing in the crowd, not on the court?
What do they feed these gingers in Nebraska? All right. Coach Barnett, 15 minutes away from Barney time. Andy Markowski next hour. It's Hail Varsity.
Age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD. You may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's Business Solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
In a divorce, it's important to have a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell and Cordell, a domestic litigation and family law firm. We champion your rights as an individual and your role as a parent, taking an aggressive approach in court while leveling the legal playing field in domestic matters. That's what a champion does. That's what Cordell and Cordell can do for you. Visit us at CordellCordell.com.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell and Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Fiddler on the Roof at Lincoln Community Playhouse. Tevye the Milkman believes in tradition while the whole world changes around him in this Broadway classic. The amazing score includes If I Were a Rich Man, Matchmaker, and Sunrise Sunset. Fiddler on the Roof is sponsored by Russ's Market, Kepke Electric, 1011 Cares, and KFOR. For tickets, LincolnPlayhouse.com. Lincoln Community Playhouse, a Lincoln theater tradition since 1946.
Men, are you ready for Valentine's Day tomorrow? Don't get caught unprepared. Head to STEM Gallery. Show your sweetheart how much you care. They've got it all, from roses to exotic flowers and plants from around the world. Plus, STEM Gallery's gift shop is fully stocked with cards, candy, candles, and all the romantic extras, including Jelly Cat plush. Don't wait. Now is the time. Order your flowers today online at thestemgallery.com.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhody. Justice says what with Nebraska and Maryland tonight? We'll get our predictions at 5:50. But just as far as the scout here, got to go at the rim, got to be better at the rim, got to win the glass, you got to take care of the basketball, you got to hit your free throws. All obvious, but all things that need to be checked off tonight if Nebraska is going to protect the PBA, the vault, the keep this magic ride going.
Yeah, and when you look at Maryland, there's really 7 guys that kind of highlight the scouting report. Obviously, you put Derek Queen, stud freshman, Julian Reese at the top, who's arguably been their best player this year, Deshaun Harris-Smith, Jacoby Gillespie, Selton Miguel, Rodney Rice, and then probably Ja'Cory Long, just because he's an energy guy at 6'8", provides great length, incredible rebounder, gets after it defensively, incredible block shot ability, has a good vertical leap. So guys that you have to worry about, they take and make shots. That's the thing with this guard group, a veteran guard group. Selton Miguel transferring in from Seton Hall. They got Rodney Rice out of the transfer portal. Jacoby Gillespie transferring in from Belmont. They've got a number of guys that can score in a bunch of different ways. For Nebraska, I would really worry about taking away Reese and Queen inside. Closing off defensive possessions is going to be big tonight. You got to make Maryland go one and done on the offensive end, get a board, get out in transition. You've got to push because once they get set defensively, very tough unit to crack getting downhill and trying to score against them. So getting looks in transition, closing off defensive possessions, and then when you get open looks, you got to make them from beyond the arc. I think that's the key for Nebraska to win tonight. Get on an early run, get the crowd going. Got to keep Maryland out of it early.
Talk to me a little bit here about Esijan and Captain Morgan. We talk about Jawan and Bryce for sure, but what's Morgan and Esijan got to combine for?
I think the number there, if you want
bench was killer for Nebraska, 34 points that first time around against Maryland. That's what kept them in it.
I think if you get 20, it's big. The number you want is 25 because then you're looking really good. So if you can get 13 and 12 out of those guys, I'm thinking probably I would put Connor at 4 made threes, and then you can get Morgan into working inside. I think 25 is a good number. I think if you can get to 20, you can survive and get spray some points around, trying to fill some of the Bear K production that he brought you from the rebounding standpoint and from a shot making and shot creation standpoint in terms of being a connector offensively. I think if you can get to 25, that's the ideal number. Get 12 out of Connor, 13 out of Captain Morgan, and you're setting yourself up pretty good on the offensive end.
Bryce has been incredible, but he has got to be a 20 and 10. His scoring's been fantastic. He's been super efficient. He's been great at the rim. He's not settled, and when he's taken threes, he's hit threes, and then he's gotten to the foul line, specifically the last time out down the stretch. Nebraska's found ways to score if it's not been a hot shooting night. They held Maryland to around 44%, 10 of 25 round one. I am interested to see if he can do what he's been doing against Maryland. Again, kind of have a bounce back compared to the first time out. But his rebounding's been so key.
His rebounding's been key, and he's been more aggressive. He's attacked the glass, and I think Fred and the staff has done a great job drawing up out of bounds plays for him to get him looks one-on-one in the mid-range, get him some looks coming off of a pin down. There's a bunch of different ways. They've even ran a couple dummy curls to get Jawan a look downhill, and he's gotten some lobs and some dunks about that. Think back to the Illinois game and the Oregon game. So they've been scheming up looks for him. I think if Fred can get him 2-3 good looks out of an out-of-bounds play to get him to get one to see one fall early, I think that's huge for his confidence tonight.
There is a correlation between Jawan dunks and Nebraska wins.
Yes, there is.
Get Juan a couple of dunks. Coach Barnett kicks us off hour 2 with Hail Varsity.
Race to savings sale. An 8-pack of 100-watt equivalent LED light bulbs is just $3.99. 76-count Tide laundry pods, only $16.99. Dots home-style pretzels are just $4.99. Plus, buy a 10-pack of Bird suet cakes for just $8.99 and get a suet cake feeder free. These great deals won't last long, so save today. Plus, sign up for Menards emails to get more big savings right to your inbox.
Save big money at Menards.
Pillar Restaurant Group is happy to announce that Piedmont Bistro by Venue is now open for dinner on Sundays. Join us every Sunday night for our brand new Chef Select menu, a 3-course dinner where you pick from our selection of fresh appetizers, brand new specialty entrees created by our chef, and a delicious house-made dessert to finish it all off. Or you can order from our a la carte menu full of our neighborhood favorite dishes. See the full menu online at PiedmontBistro.com. That's PiedmontBistro.com. Get all of your favorite restaurants delivered with VenueDelivered.com. One place for ordering delicious appetizers, refreshing salads, hot entrees, fresh sandwiches, and more. From Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, and all Lincoln Good Sense Subs locations. Download our phone app to earn rewards on all of your carryout and delivery orders. Available on Apple and Android, just search for the Pillar Restaurants app. That's the Pillar Restaurants app. Download today.
This is Officer Abley with the Lincoln Police Department. Nothing's better than getting into a warm car. If you don't have a remote starter, please stay with your car, even if you forgot something in the house. If you don't, it just might go on a joyride without you, and so will your kid's school project, sports equipment, or your briefcase, or worse, your wallet or purse. So what will it be? 5 minutes sitting in a chilly car, or 5 days waiting for the police to find it? Don't leave it. You could lose it.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump signing an executive order for reciprocal tariffs on trading partners, saying the U.S. will impose the same tariffs that other countries add to its goods. The goal? boost U.S. production.
If you build here, you have no tariffs whatsoever. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our country's going to be flooded with jobs.
President Trump held bilateral meetings with India's prime minister today, saying India will buy oil and gas from the U.S. Earlier, the president says he plans to meet with both Russia's leader and then Ukraine's president on talks to end the war in Ukraine. No date set.
President Trump said he had good talks with Russian President Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky, but he took issue with questions about the order of those phone calls.
Somebody said, I should have called Zelensky first. I don't think so. I mean, we have to find out whether or not Russia wants to make a deal. I know that Zelensky wants to make a deal.
The president said he believes Putin wants peace. Asked if he trusts the Russian president, Mr. Trump said, I'd like to see peace. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
A top federal prosecutor in New York has resigned after refusing to dismiss the Justice Department's corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
On Wednesday, the now former acting U.S. attorney in Manhattan sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Danielle Sassoon wrote she could not in good conscience follow orders to drop the corruption charges that her office brought against Eric Adams. In fact, Sassoon said her team was preparing to add more counts, alleging the mayor destroyed evidence and asked. On Wednesday, the now former acting U.S.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. RFK Jr. today has been sworn in to be the Health and Human Services Secretary. The Senate confirmation vote along party lines, except for former GOP Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. He was the only Republican to vote no against RFK's nomination. You're listening to ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZER.
A large sinkhole in a South Lincoln neighborhood. I'm Jeff Modes, KFOR News. Lincoln Transportation Utilities said in a statement to KFOR News that a large hole opened up at Worthington Avenue and Lake Street, where LTU crew members were responding to a reported water main break along Lake Street between 19th and 20th Streets this morning. LTU crews were in the area helping out with ice melting. The water main break displaced the subgrade underneath the street, and an LTU service truck was momentarily held in the section of street until crews pulled them out. Water main repairs should be done soon. The area impacted expected to be closed until crews can lay pavement on the street. A formal announcement today about the multi-year deal and partnership between Aramark and the University of Nebraska for game day food and beverage services for concessions at Memorial Stadium, the Devaney Sports Center, and other university-operated athletic venues. Aramark will also introduce advancements designed to improve the speed of service at concession stands, even increase the variety of food and beverage offerings while continuing to offer local fan favorites. The agreement was approved last Friday by the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. The Lincoln School Board this week heard about proposed changes to the 2025-26 school year calendar, which would have the first day of classes pushed back by 1 day. The proposed change would include moving the first day of school from Monday, August 11th to Tuesday, August 12th. Interim Superintendent John Skreda explained why the 1 day change was made to start on a Tuesday versus a Wednesday.
So if we started on a Wednesday in 25-26, the prior calendar we were discussing, the 1 day change on, that would push us to we simply couldn't recapture another day there prior to the end of the first semester.
If the change of date is approved by the Lincoln School Board in less than 2 weeks, the first quarter would end a day later than originally planned on October 10th, right before fall break begins. Lincoln's first forecast, increasing clouds tonight, a low of 10 above, mostly cloudy tomorrow, a slight chance of a wintry mix and a high of 38. I'm Jeff Motes, KFOR News.
These are today's top headlines.
Hamas says it will release hostages as agreed to on Saturday. Former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard is confirmed as the new director of intelligence. Ukraine does not want a peace deal made just between the U.S. and Russia.
Don't miss a thing. Stay connected for whatever's next.
News that affects you. On air and on demand 24/7. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Keep up with the local news, sports, your favorite talk shows, and pro shows on KFOR wherever you roam. Stream us 24/7 at KFORnow.com or on your mobile. You can download the free iHeart or TuneIn app and stream KFOR on the go.
The following is a paid program. Content is provided by Hurrdat Media and may contain pre-recorded material. KFOR. The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Back into it, it's Hour 2 at Hail Varsity. We say hi to the Hall of Fame coach, Gary Barnett, with us, Colorado, Northwestern, Missouri. And I feel bad for Coach because he's going to have to wear sleeves on the golf course this weekend. Coach, how we doing?
Well, I'm all right. I mean, I wear sleeves most days.
That sounded wrong. I mean, I painted it as Coach Barnett's in a bro tank out there putting. No, that's not what I meant. Long sleeve is how I should have said it. But I'm just digging in and jealousy at the weather you have.
Well, we had a Chamber of Commerce week last week for the waste management tournament, which you probably got to see some of. I mean, it was absolutely perfect. They must have sold a 1,000 homes last week, and just after watching that golf tournament. So,
I dream of having a home in Arizona, or at least letting my mom let me move in at some point.
Be careful what you wish for there.
No, I get you. Coach, a lot going on. I gotta get your take though. And did you tap out on the Super Bowl, or did you stick it all the way out?
I tapped out. I have never tapped out. I tapped out. In fact, I tapped out at halftime. We had some Chicago Italian beef at half, and some Lou Malnati's pizza, and some friends in from Omaha. So I just hung out there, and I didn't watch another piece of TV. Went home early and watched the FBI and something else. So I was all creatures great and small. I couldn't take that game any longer.
Well, I think what you're also telling me here is you probably got a little food coma going. I mean, that was a spread.
No, I took it lightly, but it was just, it was really hard to watch. And, I totally understand why anybody would check out of that game, and lots of people did, I think. In fact, I didn't even see any of the commercials in the second half, I don't think.
My favorite was the Harrison Ford commercial, the Jeep commercial. That was pretty good, but it was just a frustrating night. Not that I was cheering for Kansas City per se. I was happy to see Husker Cam Jurgens get his ring at center. He's been just fantastic to cover over the years. And of course, Nick Gates played for Nebraska during the Riley era, and Nick, good ball player from Bishop Gorman. So that was kind of my interest. I like Mahomes. I like Kelsey. Braden's coming to Lincoln as the new defensive line coach, as the assistant D-line coach for Kansas City, but just not enough run game for the Chiefs. And I know it was over before you could blink because, Coach, the O-line just got beat up by a really good front Philly.
And a four-man rush. And when you can get to the quarterback and force those mistakes in a four-man rush, you can play whatever coverage you want and get exotic with it. And that's just what they did. And, you have those days. I think it was a golf god saying, we've had enough of Kansas City. You've had all these close games. You're not getting another one. So, I think it's good for pro football to have the Eagles win. it's not good for pro football to have it look like it did.
No, that can't be your lasting impression, but it was a record viewership because the NFL just kills it on TV. Gary Barnett with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, I want to kind of get your reaction to some of the movement in college football coordinator-wise, and what do you think for Ohio State with Brian Hartline, and kind of a surprise move yesterday, but maybe not so much, Matt Patricia moving into the DC chair for Ohio State?
You know, we used to, it got to a point where we used to call assistant coaches migrant workers masquerading as millionaires. And, you know, now, just like players, the coaches are hired guns as well. And so, you no longer have these systems that you grow up in and you're tied to. You're not tied to them. And, you know, you don't want to be there forever. You know, you think about all the coaches at Nebraska were Charlie McBride and all the guys that were there forever. And it was the same thing at, you know, Missouri and other places. But anymore, you know, the money that's out there and available, it will lure almost anybody away from a situation that, you know, felt like home or looked like that's where they're supposed to be. And so they're just like the players now, and I don't blame them at all. You got to get it while you can, I guess. But it makes it just adds to the whole look of college football when the coaches start getting involved with those kinds of moves as well.
Professionalized for sure. In your time, did you prioritize opportunity, fit, or what was it ever about money when it came to landing at a spot in your career?
Oh, it was never about money, you know, never. And and so, you know, I went up through the ranks of high school, 11 years, 2 years at a really small Division II NAIA school to the very bottom of Division I with Colorado in 1984, and then the climbs that we did, and then I ended up going to Chicago where everybody assumed it was a step backwards, and it for 3 years it almost felt that way. So no, and you know, even when I made the move from Nebraska, from Northwestern to Colorado, I did it because we wanted to come home and we wanted to be back in Colorado. It was a lateral move financially for me. So it was, no, I was never about that, but I get it. You know, I do. It's just personalities. It wasn't my personality. It wasn't anything that, for me, that was anything interesting. I just wanted to be where I wanted to be. And, you know, if they paid me, they paid me. If they didn't, they didn't. But that's where I wanted to be.
Well, and fair to say the approach was the money part will take care of itself.
Yeah. You know, I mean, how much money do you need, really? I mean, everybody was happy. My kids, you know, had clothes and we could eat, and
yeah,
you know, we had a good life. And so for me, I was never about that, but I do get it. You know, I understand it.
Gary Barnett's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Really enjoy catching Stuart Mandel's college football mailbag in The Athletic, and he got a submission this week with the different tiers of college football, not tears in beer, but TIER. And you have 1 through 5. Tier 1 expects to compete for a title every year. Tier 2, you're there on a nearly yearly basis. Tier 3 is every 3 to 5 years. Tier 4 is every 10 years. Tier 5 is your Cinderella. You have a once-in-a-lifetime experience to be at that level. You're just happy to be there. What do you think Colorado, what tier Colorado and Nebraska both come in at tier 4 once every 10 years? Do you agree with that, or what tier do you think they belong in? What should the expectation be? What's What's a number you like? 3 to 5 years, 10 years? What's real?
Well, that's an interesting question, Chris. So many things depend upon who's coaching and what the climate and culture becomes when that particular person is coaching. Changing coaches is a crapshoot.
Right.
Landing the right guy is a crapshoot. Nobody's got their finger on it to where they can do it every time. There's a few because they have the resources and the tradition, but so many things come into play there. I think right about where they got Tier 4 would be right about where I would say both are. Nebraska probably has more resources. Colorado has many resources, but not resources that are available. And I don't think that culture would ever make it available. And so it's a little bit different. I mean, I think for years Nebraska was, one of the top 10 programs in the country that everybody that everybody respected and wanted to be a part of, et cetera. And, because of coaching changes and AD changes and just the world, it wasn't able to maintain that. And so they got to get back in there. They haven't been back in. They're like Colorado. They haven't been in there. And so you got to start in Tier 4. And then your culture's got to decide whether they really want to make it go higher. But it's there's too many things out there right now that are not controllable by schools or coaches or institutions, and it's going to have to be, until there's some way to organize it and regulate it and enforce it. You're gonna have these tiers, and there's going to be movement up and down. It just depends on how much money people want to spend, because that's really a lot of it what it comes down to.
You have the opportunity right now to, if you spend money on the right people, either resurrect or kind of arrive as a program, at least from a resources standpoint. Coach, you can go get the players, you can go get the coach. And I think there was I look at Nebraska, I think part of it has been coaching, and you talked about the revolving door, very real. And I think from a talent standpoint, Nebraska's had talent. I don't know that talent's always been maximized. And you've just not had the winning formula across the sideline. Too many times Nebraska's been outcoached by really good folks in headsets across the way with maybe not as many 4 or 5 star, or more so 4-star guys. So I think the opportunity is there to get high level dudes, develop them, and then get them coached up with Dana. And I really like Eckler coming in. Is there a program right now? I look, we laid out some of these, tiers, LSU, and I look at Florida, and I think Florida maybe is going to be okay with their coach hanging on to him, being a little patient. I look at Notre Dame, where they've kind of gotten back to. Wondering about Miami, Florida State, and LSU, and even Oklahoma. Are those programs just close to bouncing back? Not only with the recruiting area they have, but the coaching staff they put together, the teams, the conferences. Can these programs kind of get back to that pedestal sooner rather than later?
There's no simple formula for it, Chris. Sometimes it's coaching, sometimes it's the player, sometimes it's a single player, sometimes it's what's happening in society. Sometimes, it's so hard to predict it. To me, Oklahoma isn't going to be back, not going in the conference they're in. They're how long has it taken Texas now? And so, it's so hard to pinpoint it. And they're not robots, because you're dealing with human beings.
Sure.
Things aren't as predictable. And so I think the number one thing is culture and tradition, gives you the best chance. And then you add the players and the coaches, and then you add the atmosphere, the environment, like what we have going on right now. And, you throw that into the mix. But it still is, there are inherent advantages in certain places. Part of it's where you are, geography, but part of it's culture, part of it's what part of the country. Part of it, you just happen to have the right guy, the right booster or whatever. Look at Oregon. It's not a formula. You just sort of stumble into it. Nobody's got it down to how they can do it every time. And that's what makes it interesting. If you could control all that, then we'd have 5 teams that would be really, really great and everybody else. It's uncontrollable, I think, at this point in time.
Gary Barnett's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Show recommendations. You mentioned you watch FBI. I've been holding on to dear life on the treadmill, watching The Blacklist. I've gotten into that, and I know I'm a decade late on it, but better late than never. You watching anything good, either on Paramount or Netflix or anything?
Finished Landman. And
okay.
It was a lot of fun. I started up Night Agent again, even though I've watched it. I'm batching it for a couple of days, so there's a number of shows, millions of them. Suits was my all-time favorite, I think. You got to watch Yellowstone, 1923 and 1883 and all those shows. Yeah, there's a lot of good shows.
How about The Lioness? Have you watched that?
Watched The Lioness, like The Lion. Mary and I watched The Empress.
I'm getting into Mayors of Kingstown. All right. Bachelor Coach Barnett. Should be good. Coach, you have a good weekend. Thank you much.
All right, Chris. Great being with you.
Good to hear from Coach Barnett and get some TV show recommendations. The all-time, mother of TV show series recommendations was The Pirate, Coach Leach. And he had some favorites, and he had some hidden gems. But old Barney going to be hitting the golf ball this weekend. Eddie Markowski tells us about Husker basketball. We'll sit down with the Pride of Ord next. Buckle up. Reminder to do that. Seatbelt saves lives, prevents injuries only if properly worn. Make it click. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
In Lincoln and Lancaster County. Follow your favorite team on air and online at KFORnow.com. Powered by Sandhills Global and Super C Convenience Store. Stay connected to Lincoln and Lancaster County High School athletics on FM 101.5, 1240 AM KFOR.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be
Really the refund.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Your wife says you're crabby.
Your kids say you won't get off the couch, and you're sick of hearing about it. Find out what's really wrong by having your levels checked at Limitless Male. Our lab testing is in-house, so within 15 minutes, Limitless Male will know if you have low testosterone. And if it is low T, our medical providers will offer alternatives to get you on the fast track to a better you. So don't monkey around with wannabe experts. See the real men's health experts. Free consult at limitlessmale.com.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhody, Andy Marowski with us, the pride of Ord, at Marowski_Andy. Follow him on Twitter, all things Big Red Hoops. And Andy, big one at PBA is Nebraska and Maryland set to tangle. And right now, as we look at Nebraska's 4-game win streak, they've done a couple of things well. That's finish at the rim and make their free throws. How difficult is that going to be tonight against Maryland's front line?
Yeah, certainly Maryland's one of the, athletically most gifted teams in the league. Not only, as you mentioned, rim protection, size and length around the rim. They're really quick. They're able to pick you up and bother you in the 3/4 and half court defense as well. So, going to be a challenge, but, I do feel like Nebraska's playing some of their better basketball, and, they had a chance to win at Maryland, and I don't think we played that well. So hopefully tonight they can get it done.
Eddie, you can take lessons for sure from that first game. I know Queen and Reese didn't have the night they wanted offensively. They were still monsters on the glass with 17 boards, 8 blocked shots. Burke is going to be out on this occasion and maybe future ball games with that bad ankle. And what kind of punch do you think Braxton and Morgan can provide? I know Morgan had a kind of a career night the last time against the Terps.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Fred elects to play, both bigs at the same time in order to match Maryland, which I don't think helps us offensively, or if, he's going to play them for each other at the 5 spot and then, maybe have the place a little smaller, which could help us offensively handling the basketball, but rebounding will be in question. So I'll be anxious. I anticipate Fred probably trying to play a little smaller and still only playing one of the bigs at a time in May and Morgan. And then, Gary's going to just have to do a really good job of playing big and doing the things he's done over the last couple of weeks here, just getting in the lane and really being a physical, athletic forward, which he is. So it could be could help Nebraska play a little quicker, kind of spread Maryland out a little bit. But I do have concerns on the backboard. Those 2 bigs against Maryland are really good.
Andy, when you look at what Maryland does offensively, it's a lot of the inside-out game. They shoot it pretty well from beyond the arc, 36.8% as a team. That's good for 51st in the country. Do you expect Nebraska to go a little zone tonight? Maybe Fred and Nate Linzer try to mix it up, or do you think it's going to be a lot of hard traps and force the guys to be on rotations and on point?
Yeah, we're man to man, and how we play it, we certainly are going to double the post and force teams to make perimeter jump shots, and they did shoot it pretty well at Maryland, but yeah, we're going to stay what we do, and I think our closeouts have been a little tighter here through this winning streak, but also the games have been closer. When you're down 10, 12, 15 points, I think it's pretty easy for teams to take and make 3-point shots. They don't really feel game pressure. So the teams haven't shot it as well through our winning streak. Partly is we've been ahead most of the games, and I always feel like that's a tougher open shot to take and make. So I don't think we change what we do. We're going to crowd the paint, force teams to take threes, and lately that has benefited us.
Eddie, as you look across the league, Eddie Marowski with this, and you see what Bryce is doing, has he made a loud enough case to be first team All Big Ten for you?
Yeah, the league is, with 18 teams in the league, you just forget how many really good players there are in the league. But certainly he has had an impact. In our non-conference, he was fantastic. Early in the league play, he was really good. When he kind of wasn't playing his best basketball, we lost, and now he's playing really good again, and we're winning again. So I certainly think he has to be right there in the discussion. I think what he means for this team, he certainly needs to play well for Nebraska to win. If Nebraska keeps winning and finds himself in the top 8 in the league, I think that makes his cause even better, that he's an all-league performer if he can lead Nebraska in the kind of the top 7 or 8 in the league. But he's done everything this team needs of him, and hopefully he still has a little left in the tank, because if he can finish strong here, I think he can get this team back into the tournament.
What's a combined number for you tonight for Bryce and for Gary?
Yeah, they really had quiet games at Maryland. I don't have the box score. I think it was probably less than
combined for 20, and it was not a good shooting night.
20, yeah. So that certainly for us to have the ball with a chance to tie, with them not having a great game is encouraging. So I think they both 28. I think they'd have to have 28 or more for us to be able to win the game. I mean, to keep asking Bryce to score in the 20s, I think is hard. Gary, I'd say 30. I think 20 and 10, 18 and 10, something like that is probably gives us a chance to win a season. I think we'll get some looks tonight, and then you got to get some productivity from Morgan and May at your 5. You can't let Maryland really go double on the front line and us not get good production out of our 5 spot.
Andy, when you look at just how Nebraska is going to have to game plan for this, they have a size advantage at the guard spot. Do you see any sort of scenario where they try to scheme up a low post touch for a Bryce Williams or Jawan Gary or a Riley Wooster to get into the paint against the smaller Maryland guards?
Fred's always creative to attacking matchups and different strategies to take advantage of that. A little bit of the loss of Burke hurts us because both Maya and Morgan are not terrific shooters. So I doubt Maryland is going to chase them out on the perimeter. So the ability of playing Burke at the 5 can really spread teams at the 5 spot to give you the ability to post in behind it. So without having them, I don't know if Queen and their posts are going to leave the lane to guard Morgan or Maya. So certainly something to watch as a fan, to see if Fred can put our players in a better position to be successful, and losing one post player, being able to post Williams or Gary, could help make up for maybe some of that lost productivity that Burke has been giving us.
Eddie, let's switch to the women. Big ball game as we chat. Maryland and Nebraska Husker women trying to halt a 3-game skid. Tough one against Iowa earlier this week. What is Coach Williams in Nebraska up against tonight against Maryland?
Yeah, Maryland's really athletic, long. They've had a little bit of injury bugs, but they've kind of as of late, they've kind of found a rotation. So it's a tough place to play, good players, program that's been on top of the Big Ten for, really since they came into the league a decade ago. We're in a must win. Either you're nice to win tonight at Maryland, or then you come back and you're at Illinois on Sunday, which doesn't get much easier. So certainly it's been a tough stretch here. Asking us to go on the road and win tonight will be hard. But if this team wants to get to the tournament, I think they have to look at a split here with 2 road games, and then you have Oregon and Washington at home, which will become really important games. And then you get a little relief from finishing at Northwestern. So with 5 to go, I think 3 and 2, puts them right back in the tournament. Anything less than that, they're certainly going to have to play well in the Big Ten, which is, disappointing spot to be in.
What's the crop report been for the Husker women? Seeding wise, are they outside? Are they on? Are they still in?
Yeah, as of now, everything has them in, but they're in that last 4 in right now, and on most of the there's not as many sites that publish a women's bracket as men's brackets, but certainly the ones that have done it for several years still have them in. Still has the Big Ten with 12 in, with Washington being the 13th just out. So I'm still optimistic that the Big Ten can get 12 or 13 in. And like you said, if Nebraska if they win 3 more, they would be 10-8 in the league, which everybody knows how tough this league is. If they go 2-3, that would be 9-9, which I think it probably puts them on the other side of the bubble. But so still a lot to play for. Still have had a good season, but certainly not playing their best basketball right now. Just really have struggled defending, and just finding baskets have been hard for this team in the last week to 2.
Andy, when you look at the roadmap to success for this Husker women's squad down the stretch, it's always been when they have really good games, they start fast. Is that another recipe they look towards as the season goes on? I know they got a couple of winnable ones still on the slate. You look at home against Oregon and Washington, and then they go on the road to Northwestern, who has not had an outstanding season. What's the game plan for success for this Nebraska squad? Is it playing inside out through Marowski, who's really had a couple of nice games these past couple, 21-15 against Iowa in the last one? What's kind of the game plan as they get towards this final stretch?
Yeah, I hope they can start fast. I don't think it's a real confident group right now. So going on the road, you hope they can find some early success. Play from ahead versus behind. They have not shot it well. Teams are really pressuring our guards. Our turnovers are high. Our guards aren't getting open shots, which is putting more pressure on Alexis to have to produce. And there's some games where they're not doubling her as much because the guard pressure has really prevented the guards from getting the ball inside in good positions to score. So I wish I knew the answer. I still think it's a solid group. It's a group that has 5 kind of 50-50, 60-40 games left, where if they can start playing good basketball, can get on a little run going into the tournament here. But tonight will be tough. But having lost a few at home, maybe going on the road and getting together as a team and kind of regrouping, might be what they need.
Eddie Marowski with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Andy, ball game tonight for the Pius girls. How are things feeling as you look closer to district time?
Yeah, just down to 2 Thursday or tonight, and then Saturday. So sub-districts will be here. Had a tough one last Friday against number 2 or number 3 team in Class A, Bellevue East. Played a pretty good second half of basketball. So we're playing good basketball. We're relatively healthy, Chris, and we're hoping to go into district with the chance to advance to PBA. But yeah, high school season's down to about 3 weeks. It always goes fast, but this is the most fun time of the year. It is. Can't wait to see you down at PBA. Eddie, have a good night. Thanks for the time today. All right, fellas. Thank you. Gotta love the Pride of Ord. That's Eddie Marowski. Pride of Chicago is next. It's Danny Burke time.
La Vista South visits Lincoln Northeast. You can join Elijah Herbal for the play-by-play. Coverage starts at 7:05 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. For over 3 decades, Cordell & Cordell has been on the front lines of family law. Divorce is more than just a legal process. It's a life-changing event that can impact your future, finances, and your relationship with your children. You've worked hard to build a life that you're proud of. And you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Pillar Restaurant Group is happy to announce that Piedmont Bistro by Venue is now open for dinner on Sundays. Join us every Sunday night for our brand new Chef Select menu, a 3-course dinner where you pick from our selection of fresh appetizers, brand new specialty entrees created by our chef, and a delicious house-made dessert to finish it all off. Or you can order from our a la carte menu full of our neighborhood favorite dishes. See the full menu online at PiedmontBistro.com. That's PiedmontBistro.com. Get all of your favorite restaurants delivered with VenueDelivered.com. One place for ordering delicious appetizers, refreshing salads, hot entrees, fresh sandwiches, and more. From Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, and all Lincoln Good Sense Subs locations. Download our phone app to earn rewards on all of your carryout and delivery orders. Available on Apple and Android, just search for the Pillar Restaurants app. That's the Pillar Restaurants app. Download today.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
April breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be
Ready the refund.
limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
KFOR is now available in high-definition stereo.
This is the good stuff.
Listen in your HD radio-equipped vehicle.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Rolling along on a Thursday, Hail Varsity Radio. Justice Rhody, Chris Schmidt around here somewhere. It's the 5:40 hour, so you know what that means. It's time for Burke's Best Bets. We welcome in the pride of Chicago in the waiting room. If you'd make an appearance here, please soon. Mr. Danny Burke, as Schmitty comes on back. Getting ready for Burke's Best Bets as we get ready for Nebraska, Maryland. Danny, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. I see we got to keep Schmitty on a leash out there, man. What are you pulling back a couple in between segments, Schmitty? What's going on, man?
No, it was one of those Frank Drebin peas from the Naked Gun where you're going, and then it turns into the mother of all drives where it's one of those 15 play. You keep converting third downs, third and short. You just keep going. And yeah, I mean, I thought 3 minutes was enough time to wander down the hall, use the restroom, and then fill my water bottle, not vodka, back up, and away we go. What did you do? You went to the barber, or someone held you down and you trimmed the beard?
I actually did. I've been battling a little bit of a cold this past week, so I figured, I just try to get a little bit of a fresh start after I'm trying to overcome it right now. It's that Super Bowl hangover, I guess. Just been killing me all week, guys. I'm in depression mode post-football, so it's somewhat of a clean start. Not all the way down, but just a slight trim.
Well, I love it. Find Daddy Burke, his podcast, of course, Burke'sBeat.com, Burke's Best Bets, Stochastic, and the Odd Shopper. Daddy, I know you've got some plays going on, and you put out videos quite often that have great intel. I want to get your take on where you hit some home runs on the Super Bowl. I need a thought on Nebraska, Maryland -1.5, but then kind of dive into some things you're looking at as well tonight.
Yeah, so just recap of the Super Bowl. I mean, look, I had a future on the Eagles 14-1 heading into the year, so I was feeling obviously fantastic about that heading into the game. I did end up hedging, so I had a profitable spot either way. And to be fair, full disclosure, I did think the Chiefs would win the game. So, look, luckily I did have that futures bet, but obviously for my take from an outside perspective was far from accurate. Look, this defense from Philadelphia was as good as advertised on paper. I mean, it was one of those things that said on paper, it leads all directions to Philly should be the better team. But the difference for me, why I leaned toward Kansas City, despite all that, was because of the head coach and quarterback. But look, the statistically proven better team did come through, and they did in a big way. So luckily still had that future, so it did come through. Pretty much split in terms of props. I mean, I did okay with the sack one that I had. Mahomes over rushing attempts did not come through, but we got DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown plus 650, which was a big hit. My favorite play of the day, Jalen Hurts anytime, which was only being offered at like minus 110 and minus 115, which again, I thought was ridiculous considering he had 18 touchdowns on the year, 4 in the postseason alone. So all in all, it was a pretty good Super Bowl for me. So yeah, sad to see the NFL season ending, but excited to see what kind of false hope my Bears can give me for the next year. So that's always fun in the offseason, right? That's the only time that I can be happy as a Bears fan, Schmitty. So yeah, we'll see what comes through with that. For hoops tonight, obviously we got a big one with the Big Red. I know we'll get into that in a second. NBA wise, pretty much flooded with props across the board. One total that I do have, though this is changing a little bit because the news did come out that it looks like these guys are going to play. So I'm on the wrong side here, but I did take the under 218.5 between the Warriors and Rockets. Now, Coach Kerr said that there was he didn't say strong, but it seemed like there was a strong chance that the veterans were going to be sitting in this game. And because of how good this Houston defense is, because below average ratings that the Warriors offense is, and simultaneously Houston's offense, I thought it'd be in a good spot to look at the under. Well, he just announced they are going to play on the second leg of a back-to-back. So the total is shot up to 225.5. I still would look toward the under there, but obviously in my position, I'm kind of just standing pat as of this moment. Otherwise, some other areas that I think are pretty good looks, guys. Mike Conley under 5.5 assists against Oklahoma City. He's having one of the lowest assist percentage rates of his career right now, and it's a tough matchup against the best defense in the league in Oklahoma City. So if you're only having to lay about minus 130 or better, I like Conley under 5.5 assists. I also like Alvarado on the other side for a different game going over his assist mark. 6.5 was the number. I got it plus 120. If you're getting even money or better, he's just dominated against the Kings in terms of his assists. 9 assists in both games. His assist rate is the highest of his career. Sacramento's defense is bad. It's probably going to get worse with the addition of Zach LaVine. No shade on him. It's just not a defensive addition. So there's no progress on that side of the ball and should only bold better for Alvarado with his dimes in that prop in the highest total on the board. And then I'll give out another one here too, guys. Walker Kessler under 11.5 boards. Tough matchup on the glass against Zubac, who's got a better rebounding rate than Kessler. And I think this number is just a tad bit inflated. So I like Kessler under 11.5 rebounds for another prop tonight.
Love that. Danny Burke with us, burksbeat.com, at Danny Burke 5 on Twitter, Stochastic Odds Shopper. Husker Hoops trying to keep fighting the good fight, get that win and cover tonight. 147.5, the over under. They coulda, shoulda, woulda had Maryland the first time around. No Berkey, Buchton gel, so Nebraska influx a little bit. Have you looked at this much tonight?
Man, I don't want to be like the kiss of death here, because the last time we really went in depth with Nebraska, I think that was when we were very much fed up and it was at the lowest point before they got on this little streak. And then it turned around and we were kind of just, feeling all grim about this program. And now they flipped the script. And I don't want to be the guy to jump in now that it's the hot hand, but it does seem like this is the time to ride that wave with Nebraska. I mean, look, statistically, Maryland has the advantage, Schmitty, but I mean, with this home court advantage, if it can go back to being the vault of old that we've seen them be so great with. And I like the fact that they lost that close game against the Terps earlier this year. Now you're writing all of that into a short spread. It's hard not to side with Nebraska. I don't feel like there's a huge edge in this game, but if I were to make a play, it would go with the Cornhuskers here, and maybe you wait for that in-game spot if you think Nebraska's liable to trailing at some point, because their three-point defense has been a liability, and Maryland could certainly get hot from out there, and that may be your opportunity to do so. But yeah, not enough of an edge to make it an official play, but certainly having the lean be toward the side of the Huskers.
Danny Burke with us here, Burke's Best Bet, burksbeat.com. Do you have a futures at all on Aaron Rodgers, where he ends up?
How perfect would it be if he ends up with the Minnesota Vikings, right? I mean, that would just be the storybook ending, the perfect Brett Favre replica there. I do not have one in the books currently, nor do I think I'll be placing one. Man, I have no idea. I think what's kind of interesting now, too, is the whole Stafford potentially to the Giants idea. Like, why would you want to take on Matt Stafford if you're the Giants and give up a draft pick for a realistically better quarterback for the future? I mean, all these rumors are just making everything so exciting already in the offseason. But I'm hoping Rodgers goes to the Vikings. I think that would be hilarious. Probably benefits the Bears at this point in his career. And yeah, we'll see what happens to Stafford too. But yeah, those old vets, man, and it'll be fun to see where they end up.
Danny, how can folks find you? Where can they find you? Talk to me about the platforms.
Yeah, at Danny Burke 5 on Twitter. Everything's pretty much sent out there, but oddshopper.com for all your betting needs. Picks being released daily. You can check it out there. Stokastic for all your daily fantasy sports. Again, all the links on my Twitter. You can check it out there at Danny Burke 5.
All right, Pride of Chicago. We will holler next week. Love the props. And we'll see how Nebraska, where they finish here at the finish line in March. Take care, brother. Thank you much.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Take care.
Degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery. Ends President's Day. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
When something happens to your kitchen, you might say,
"This is ludicrous."
But that won't fix your home. That will only get you the rapper, Ludacris.
Having trouble? Don't panic. Don't be alarmed. You need to file a claim? Holla at State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
That's right. You can file a claim on the app or call us.
Thanks, Mr. Chris.
No matter how ludicrous the situation, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
Culligan has a long history of providing custom solutions to address the area's water worries. Local water issues, including PFAS, arsenic, nitrates, and bacteria, can wreak havoc on your home and health. You can trust Culligan to deliver better water solutions and better service. No one else offers the combination of local expertise and industry-leading technology like Culligan. Contact Culligan for water you love. Contaminants may not be in your water.
Whether you're buying or selling your first home or your third, let Rich Rodenberg from Coldwell Banker NHS Real Estate guide you through the process. Listen to Start Moving for tips on buying and selling in today's world. Start Moving every Saturday morning at 9:30 on KFOR.
You've got your very own handyman to help remodel your...
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
All right, it is prediction time. The solid number is Schmidt and 3 Fairbury brand hot dogs tonight. We started this thing off with the Nebraska concessions discussion, not conceding, but concessions. And Who you drafting? You drafting the Runza, you drafting the Vals, you drafting the Fairbury versus what, or you can go a different way. Which one are you punting off the island? And I'm drafting the Fairbury. So, Justice, let's dive in here. Nebraska -1.5. You're laying the points. You're taking the points if you're Maryland. Nebraska has had moments against Illinois where looked like it wasn't going to happen. Nebraska had moments just the other night against Ohio State, as physical as they were, where they just didn't have an answer. And then they found a way. And I am not here to upset Nebraska ball in your student section. I just think Nebraska again finds a way at home. They find a way in a tight ball game at PBA to handle it. And while the line says 1.5 or 2, and it may very well come down to a last second shot or an overtime, I think Nebraska is able to grow a lead late in the ball game and again get to the free throw line. And I think they are going to be locked in 1,000% on the glass and avenge. Give me Nebraska 74. Give me Maryland 69. And I like Nebraska to win and cover.
You and I are kind of in the same vein of thought.
That's how it's got to be or going to be if they win tonight.
Yeah, I think this one goes to overtime. I'm going to call it right now. I think we get free basketball inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. When I look at it, I think Maryland just at a point goes on a run. It's just whether Nebraska can handle the run. I think they do. I think they find a way. I think they ride Bryce Williams, get him some looks. I think Jawan Carey is on point at the rim. I think they find a way to out-rebound Maryland by gang rebounding team effort. I like Nebraska in overtime 73-68 at home.
So you're telling me it's going to take OT to get over.
I think they try to wear Maryland out and get them to an extra period, yeah, if it has to come to it. Because those big boys tire out a little bit quicker.
Who's your surprise performer tonight?
I'll go out on a limb. I'll go Braxton Mia gets 2 blocks and 8 points in his work tonight. And I think he goes 2 for 4 from the free throw line.
2 for 4? You don't think he's going to keep that 3 for 3 streak going?
No. I'll say 8 points, 2 blocks, 2 for 4 from the free throw line. I think that's Braxton Mia. I think he gives you just enough in the offensive category to put you over.
All right. A big one tomorrow for Nebraska baseball as the 2025 season gets underway. We'll have plenty to talk about it. A little more Husker football flavor as well. And plenty of thoughts, takes, reaction on Nebraska. Maryland. Is Nebraska able to pull even in Big Ten conference play, or do they hit the road licking their wounds a bit here with a tough one that they dropped? You maybe got it out of your system with the win streak that was snapped in a couple of teams that aren't sizing up like they need to be, dropping those early on. Back at you tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity. Big thanks to Justice. Big thanks to Danny, Coach Barty, and Brandon Vogel and Andy Markowski.